Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we are mostly going to be talking about that upcoming snowstorm for this weekend, but also a few other potential major snowstorms in the near future. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do get weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. And I'd also highly recommend that you check out our very exciting Patreon page, where we're actually going to be making a post about those upcoming major snowstorms that are potentially going to be occurring. That's going to be in the description and in the pinned comment down below. You can also check out our very exciting store in the same location. Anyways, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, when do you think our next major winter storm will be occurring? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now let's get straight into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at that very exciting European model here, and this has been one of the best models for years and years and years. And look, we start things out, this is about 7 a.m. there on Thursday, January 7th. We see moderate to heavy snowfall going on for Arkansas, Missouri, and look, as we move towards about, I would say, maybe 10 p.m. there on Thursday, January 7th still. And as you can see, we have still some lighter snowfall there for Arkansas, Missouri, portions of Kentucky and Illinois, as well as Indiana as well. But we do see some snowfall starting there for Georgia and North Carolina. That's going to be the beginning of the very eastern portion of this storm, again, starting out at about Thursday night. So what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, and we're going to move towards where the snow is going to get a lot heavier, actually, for Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, and North Carolina. Now, I wanted to take a second to mention that I am going to be going live later today about this storm and about the Polar Vortex that is coming up, also multiple other snowstorms coming up. We're going to be talking about a lot in that live stream, so I highly recommend you check it out. At this point, I don't know what time I'm going to be going live, but obviously you will be able to see on the channel, and if you have notifications on it, we'll let you know, but it will be at some point during the day today. I just wanted to let you guys know. But as you can see on screen, there is some moderate to heavy snowfall there for Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, and especially North Carolina there, where I actually think the bullseye will set up. And then as we head towards about 4 p.m. here, look at the mixing trying to go on in southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. We talked about that yesterday. The temperatures are just too marginal there. Even if it does switch over to snow, I think it would have a very difficult time accumulating, and that's why I think there won't be accumulations, which is sad for me because I love snow and I live in that region. So I absolutely hate to have to say that. Now, we have moderate to heavy snowfall going on for Virginia, Kentucky still, North Carolina, the same exact regions. And then eventually, as we head towards about 1 a.m. there on Saturday, it is slowly but surely coming to an end. Mostly around Lake Gaston there, we have some snowfall lingering with some mixing. And then by the time we reach maybe about 10 a.m. there, you can see it's basically just some rain for eastern North Carolina. Temperatures are just too marginal, and they just cannot switch over to snow for these regions. So that's going to be the end of that storm. What we're going to do here is we're going to move on, and we're going to take a sneak peek at that second and third potential major snowstorms in just a moment. And these ones could really track up the East Coast, so we'll be taking a sneak peek at those. Now, guys, I want to remind you this is a potential snowfall threat, not a guaranteed snowfall threat. We're still 129 hours away from this, and it hasn't been showing exactly this every single model run. Especially near the Gulf states is where we're extremely uncertain. On the thumbnail you saw, we just had the white shade. That's basically like the lowest probability of snowfall that we have here. So the probability is very low at this point, but the possibility is there, so it's worth mentioning. But Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, the European model is saying in the early morning hours on Monday, January 11th, you will be seeing snowfall. Eventually, that moves up into the Carolinas and Virginia here by about 7 a.m. there on Tuesday, January 12th. And then we get a second snowstorm, or this would be the third, I guess. The third snowfall, that's going to be starting out around 1 p.m. there on Thursday, January 14th. And this one actually heads up into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast as a very major snowstorm. This one is even further out, so take this one with an even bigger grain of salt. But as we move towards about 1 a.m. there on Friday, you can see the potential is there for a, I would say, probably just central Virginia up through DC, Philadelphia, New York, and through Boston snowstorm, which is a classic major snowstorm. What's the probability of this happening? Quite low at this point, but we're going to be watching it closely because there is a chance, and the models have been trending at bigger snowstorm throughout the second half, or I guess really just the next 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks of January here. They've been trending at very cold and very snowy conditions, and that's exactly what I was calling for on my January forecast. And as you can see here, this is actually the model run from yesterday morning. Just a few days ago, it was calling for a very interior but very major snowstorm. So they've been consistently calling for major snowstorms. That location is what has been switching up, and that's very common in this range. The reason our thumbnail had such a wide range of those colors is because the chance is really just for a very wide region there. It could really be anywhere within there. That's the whole reason for that at this point. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, take a look at the GFS quickly. Then we're even going to take a look at that NAM model, and then we're going to get into the snowfall guidance according to all of these models, all coming up in just a moment. Now for the GFS model, let's start things out at about 1 p.m. here on Thursday, January 7th, and we do have light to moderate snowfall going on for Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky. Let's just take that to about 7 a.m. here on Friday, January 8th, and as you can see, light to moderate snowfall going on here for Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and it's really keeping it lighter than what the European model was saying for sure. I guess as comparing the two models and what they're calling for. And then it's even warmer here on the very eastern front of the storm. You can see, again, around Lake Gaston and south of those regions, we do have some snowfall, but really it's limited at this point. And then as far as that next snowstorm goes, the interesting thing here is the GFS keeps it so cold that it suppresses that storm way too far south. You can see the storm goes through pretty much Florida, and it just keeps that snowstorm way too far south at this point. But just yesterday, the GFS model was the front runner and having the most major snowstorm with that one. So these are jumping all over the place, and there's a long way to go until we see that storm potentially impacting the United States. So we're going to be watching it closely. There's a lot of options on the table as to what could happen. Here's the NAM 12KM model, and we're just going to start this out at about 1 a.m. here on January 8th. As far as the Missouri and Arkansas snowfall, all of the models are pretty much the same because it's so close to happening that the accuracy is really good. But these more far out ranges like Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, especially in Virginia, there's a lot of uncertainty there. But at about 1 a.m. here on Friday, this model does have moderate to heavy snowfall going on for Alabama and Tennessee. Eventually, though, as we reach about 4 p.m. there on Friday, January 8th, it does move up mostly into the Tennessee mountains there, North Carolina, portions of Virginia as well. The interesting thing is this one actually does reach the eastern seaboard here in eastern Virginia, especially Richmond, areas like Williamsburg there. So this model does have a little bit more of that snowfall making its way east, and then eventually even hitting the Delmarva, as you can see, at around maybe 3 or 4 a.m. there on Saturday. Very, very interesting stuff. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, and we're going to take a look at the total snowfall guidance for this initial snowstorm according to many different models. As we get started here, I wanted to mention one thing. In the live stream I'm doing later is where I'm going to be talking about the total snowfall guidance for all of these snowstorms. So right now I'm only presenting for that first snowstorm that is very soon to happen this weekend. But in that live stream, I plan on going over the next upcoming major snowstorms as far as snowfall totals, everything you need to know. So be sure to tune into that because I'm going to have a lot more time to discuss those types of things. Here's our European model, and if you're anywhere in the grays, you're at about a dusting, if anything, but really for North Carolina, Virginia, I don't expect any of that to accumulate. The temperatures are too marginal at this point. Unless something changes, there is a few days still to go. In those blue shades, we're at about 2 to 6 inches of snow. In those purples, and kind of getting towards pinks, we're expecting, I would say, 6 to 10 inches of snow. Originally, just a couple of days ago, we thought there was the potential for 10 to 15 inches of snow. That potential has dwindled away, and really it's a little bit more marginal than we originally anticipated, but there still is an area of about 6 to 10 inches of snow that are set up over, first off, portions of Missouri and Arkansas, but then also Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, and North Carolina. Let's move on and take a look at that GFS model, and you can see it's a lot more marginal for Tennessee and then even the Smoky Mountains. I think the European model is probably right, though, due to elevation and temperatures that are going to be around. Here's the Canadian model, and it's just kind of like the European model, but a little bit further north. I still side more with that European model, and so does the NAM 12KM model, as you can see. It actually looks a little bit more similar. It has a little bit higher amounts, but the NAM model is known for doing that, so we're going to take that with a grain of salt. And it does take it to the eastern seaboard, as you can see, through kind of like the central east coast there of Virginia, and then also the Delmarva. Do I think that's likely? Not necessarily. Do I think it's possible? Well, sure. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, how much snowfall do you think people are going to get with this snowstorm, basically? And Zeta Derv said 4 to 6 inches, and I think that's going to be a really good guess for the widespread amounts, but I do think that 6 to 10 inches is likely for some pretty isolated high elevation regions. Now, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons: Sebastian Tao, John Benbenick, Justin Quantrell, James Wade, Dovi Nagel, Alan Belemo, Adam S., Larry Lepan, Donna Carnes, Cameron Marshall, and Aiden Mattis, alongside our diamond patrons: Bill Roberts, Alan Sherry, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Codalessa, Michael Buell, Terry Curtis, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Kellen Manhart, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Alicia Davis, and Mark J. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel and being patrons. If you would like to be on this Patron end screen, you can do so by joining our very exciting Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.